Hello and welcome to Elena Meets the Author. This podcast explores how authors create a world that we can escape into. Join me as we demystify the magic that keeps us turning the page. Hello and welcome to Elena Meets the Author. I'm your host, Elena Bose. Today we will be doing something a little different. With Christmas around the corner, I thought listeners might like to hear from the owner of a terrific independent bookstore on Long Island, who can tell us, amongst other things, about her top picks for the coming season. I'll be talking to Lisa Scully about the Locust Valley Bookstore. Now, I have to confess I've not actually been to the bookstore. It's on my list, but I absolutely adore the bookstore's Instagram feed. I get a lot of ideas about books from this page, and not always your most predictable bestsellers. I doubt I would have found The Road to Tender Hearts by Annie Hartnett or The Feathered Detective by Chris Sweeney without seeing them on the Locust Valley Bookstore's Instagram page. It's the book summaries that I love. Here is one that I love for Keith McNally's I Regret Almost Everything. This will give you a flavor for Lisa's blogs or posts. For those of us who came of age in New York City a few years ago, I Regret Almost Everything will be a trip down memory lane. Keith McNally, the visionary restaurateur behind iconic institutions such as Balthazar, Pastis, Odeon, Nell's, and more, has written his life story, and it's a chatty and entertaining collection of rants, vignettes, and curiosities. He is considered by many to be the architect of downtown New York cafe society. I remember going to his restaurants for dinner back in the day, and we would never, ever step foot in them before 10 p.m. Now, I am in my curlers and my teeth are in a glass bedside by 8:30. And then she goes on. But this is typical of Lisa's blogs, where you really feel like you get to know not just the author, but a bit about the writer. And when I looked for online comments from people who had actually been to the bookstore, one woman's one-liner said it all: doing a happy dance. The shop is repeatedly praised for not just its selection of books, but also customer service. I love good customer service. That's why I go into the Apple shop in Greenwich all the time, because everyone is so nice in there and never makes me feel that my tech questions are stupid. But back to Lisa now. Lisa, welcome to the show. I'm so glad you could join us.
Thank you, Elena. I'm honored.
Well, I think it's the perfect thing because you just have got so many good books that you tell us about on your Instagram page. And I know if I went to the bookstore, if I got in my car, it would be even better in person. So my first question is just tell us how you got into the business to begin with.
Well, first of all, it's not even a job or work, because when you get to wake up every day and do what you love to do, it's really an honor and a privilege to own a bookstore. And we are 9 years in, and I'm still so excited to go to work every single day. So
Great.
Briefly, about 10 years ago, I was living in New York City, and I had been on Long Island for a few years, and I was the editor of the local newspaper out here. And when I moved to New York, all of a sudden I didn't have a job. And for a variety of reasons, my husband and I decided to move back out to Long Island. And I went into the local bookstore and I asked her for a job. I said, I think I could help you with your business. I can write. I might be able to help you with some of your social media. And I think this place could use a little fluffing up. And I would love for you to be considered, for me to be considered. And she said, well, I have no interest in having anybody work here. I would like to sell the business. And I said, well, who in their right mind would ever buy a bookstore? In this day and age of Amazon, why would anybody buy a bookstore? So thank you very much, but see you around town. So I go home, talk to my husband. I was all sad. I said, I really think I could make this a great bookstore. I wish she would hire me, but she wants to retire and she wants to sell the bookstore. And he said, well, why don't you buy the bookstore? And I said, I don't know how to run a bookstore. Are you kidding me? I mean, I can barely manage my iPhone. How can I run a bookstore? So to make a long story short, I thought, you know what? What's the worst that could possibly happen? We buy the bookstore, we flip the inventory, we give it a fluff up, and if we fail, we fail. Well, 2 weeks later, we bought the bookstore.
Wow.
And I was scared to death. I had no idea what I was doing, literally no idea. We bought the bookstore. We took about 2 or 3 months and we cleaned out most of her inventory. She had 32 shelves of books. We consolidated down to about 15 shelves of books. We got rid of almost half of her inventory. It was dated, it was old, it was tired. And we decided, between my husband and me, we were both good readers. We knew that if we opened with the books that we had read and loved, that we could sell the books. If I could hold a book in my hand and say, this is why you need to read this book, I could sell it to you. So my husband and I have forever kept lists of all the books that we loved. And obviously we opened with thousands of books, not all of which we had read, but many we had. And some of the distributors said, well, you can't open with these books. These are old books. And we said, well, we're going to have some new and some old. So we consolidated and opened with a nice, fresh look. And when I first thought about it, I kind of thought opening a bookstore, well, you may as just open up the window, turn on a fan, and see the money go out. And it has not been the case. We have never had a losing year.
Wow.
We make money every year. We're not getting rich, but we absolutely can afford to pay 5 people to work at the store. We all take a salary.
Fantastic.
And we are a thriving part of this community. So back to your original question, it was definitely a leap off of a cliff. I had no idea, but we knew we had a passion for books. We knew we loved it, and we decided to go for it. And we're still here 9 years later, going strong with
Fantastic.
thousands of followers and lots of other things we can talk about.
When you started running this business, what was the hardest thing that you didn't see coming in terms of owning a bookstore?
Well, thankfully, there were many more positives than challenges, but there were definitely a few challenges. And I would say the first one was I had never run a business before. I've always worked. I've always had a professional career, but I've never actually been the one in charge. And the wonderful woman who owned the bookstore before we bought it from her said that she ran the bookstore with a number 2 pencil and a legal pad. And I thought, well, that sounds great. I grew up in the age of pencil and paper and a big, fat, thick pink eraser. Perfect. I don't need any computer skills. I can do this. And I would say that that was the biggest challenge, and to this day still remains the biggest challenge. That while we opened with a very good, strong inventory, the biggest mistake we made was not opening with a bookstore software program. And I regret it to this day. I am not computer literate. Just the fact that we're on this call is a miracle in computer technology for me. So I have resisted it all along. But in terms of actually running the business and having excellent organization, it would have been much better to have an online bookstore computer system.
Do you have that now?
No.
Oh, wow.
We don't. And the reason is that we actually did invest in one. It cost $5,500. I will not use the name. And I said to them, I am not a computer person. I am a certain age. I grew up with paper and pencil, and I love paper and pencil. And then the nice salesperson who services a lot of bookstores all over the country said, no problem. You'll be able to figure out, we'll send you the manual. And I thought, being naive, I thought, well, that meant that the company would walk me through it. And basically they sent me a 3-ring binder with over 150 pages of gobbledygook, looked like AP calculus. And I freaked out and I returned the whole thing. So we got a little better than an abacus and a number 2 console and an eraser. We use Square as our point of sale system.
Right.
And it's good, but it's not a bookstore system. So we are not necessarily linked to Penguin Random House and Simon and Schuster and Hachette, all the big ones. We do it all manually. If you're anybody out there that's listening is thinking about running a business, we can have an offline conversation about this part, because I would highly recommend a online software program.
Okay. All right. Got it. But at least in terms of the book part, you're very comfortable. The books that you order and that you love. Do you delegate to your the 5 people? Do you each have a strength?
So we have 4 wonderful people who work at the bookstore, and I'm the 5th. And we all have very different reading tastes, and we all collaborate and discuss what we think we should buy. And if somebody that works at the bookstore says, I love this book, I can sell this book, I'll buy that book. And I personally buy every single book in the bookstore. I don't delegate that. I am not a good delegator, another foible of mine. And I hand select just about every single book, but I do listen to other people that work there. For example, one of my colleagues loves science fiction, dystopian fantasy. I don't know anything about that. And
Right.
so we have a handful of books like that, and she's able to hand sell those.
Okay. What are the genres that you love?
I read a lot of different genres. I read historical fiction. I love family dysfunction. I love memoirs, biographies. I love history, but I don't like boring textbook history. I like authors that are telling me a story while I learn. Timothy Egan, for example, who wrote The Worst Hard Time, which is one of my favorite books of my life.
Huh.
I like reading history books written from a different perspective than that
Right.
of America. There's a German author with the last name Ulrich who writes World War II history told from the German side. And I think it's told in a story way. It's not in 1942, let's just all
Right.
fall asleep. It's real people, real events, real activity.
Oh, it's true. It's historical.
It's true. It's not fiction.
Right.
But I would say my go-to, if I'm looking for a safety book that I know I'm going to really like, it's generally family dysfunction. I'm not sure what that says about me as a person, but good old family drama, you can't beat it.
Yeah. Okay. How do you compete with Amazon? I mean, is that a huge problem for you or not really? Because you've got so many local loyal customers.
We don't shy away from the fact that just about any book you buy in our bookstore is going to cost you 40% more. Let's use an example. Let's say you want the new John Grisham, The Widow. If you buy that book from me, it's going to be $32 plus tax. If you buy that book on Amazon, it's probably going to be $18 or $19. That's about a 40% difference. And that's a lot of money. So I can't compete with Amazon, and I don't shy away from the fact that Amazon is less than me.
Right.
If you follow me on Instagram, you will note that I often tell you what the price difference is between me and Amazon. Because savvy shoppers, or those that are watching their pocketbook, are going to say, well, gee, The Widow by John Grisham sounds great, but gosh, Lisa's charging $32. Let me just check Amazon. So I'm doing the work for you. And I'm telling you that it's $18, costs $18 on Amazon. I live in a community that wants to have a local bookstore. I live in a community where our residents believe in a strong commercial district. They know that a strong commercial district is really important for our schools, for our safety, for businesses, and for our property taxes. A strong community helps just about everything to do with your community. So I don't shy away from it. And I'm here 9 years later. I'm lucky I live in a community where many people are willing to pay 40% more. Now, I'll just throw out a caveat that not every book is 40% more. The differential is actually shrinking. And more often than not, it's $4 or $5. But Amazon does not make money by selling books. Amazon draws you in by that John Grisham book. But then you think, well, gee, I also need some toothpaste. And while I'm at it, great Aunt Hilda out there needs a coffee cake. So let's press the button and get a coffee cake too. So they're not making money from books, even though ironically, that is how Bezos got his start.
Right.
What we do run into a hiccup sometimes is that some of the huge big sellers, particularly at this time of year, they're out of stock. The publishing houses are out of stock. So I'm not sure who publishes The Widow. I think it's Simon and Schuster. We may not be able to get that before the holidays now that we're here on December 10th. But Amazon, click it and it's there.
Right.
So sure, we compete with Amazon, but I don't worry about Amazon putting me out of business because what I offer is a full experience. You're going to get a hand-selected book that we personally picked. I can talk about just about every book in the bookstore and why did I pick it. And I can tell you that great Aunt Hilda needs to read this because she lives in Topeka, and this just so happens to be all about Ohio. And we do incredible gift wrap, and we are grateful for every single customer, whether you buy a $7 greeting card or you spend $150 on a beautiful coffee table book. We're grateful for every single customer. And back to the question about Amazon, our community wants to have a strong commercial district.
And I think the sense of community everywhere is so important. I'm very upset because there was a bookshop near me on the Upper East Side. It wasn't the greatest bookshop, so maybe that's why it closed. Shakespeare.
I'm sure.
It was kind of disorganized. I don't know. But at least the corner bookstore is still around on 92nd Street.
Yes.
And when I go in there, it's busy. Yeah, you do. Exactly.
Busy.
You see students, you see all ages, and it's a whole community. The owners know the customers, and it's really important. So I get it. Now, you told me that you write every single Instagram post. So you're reading all those books as well as writing these posts. How do you do it? You must be reading and writing all the time.
I know, what a nerd, right? So if you read my Instagrams carefully, you can tell when I've read it versus when I'm just reviewing it. I have not read every book on my Instagram. There's no way. I mean, I would live under the train tracks if that was the case. So if I write in an Instagram that I loved this book, I read it and I loved it.
Right.
A lot of books, however, I'm just reviewing because for one reason or another, it has compelled me to review it, or it has been a well-received book out there in the public domain, or that we've had customer interest in it enough to pique my interest and want to share it with people. So I don't have my phone open. I can't give you a specific example of something that I haven't read, but I do review a lot of books that I haven't read. I do, however, with every single post, try to put my voice in the email, in the commentary.
Yeah.
Because I find that it humanizes the book and it makes it more relatable. Do I regurgitate information that has been provided to us by the author or the publishing house? You better believe it. One cannot possibly recreate all of that commentary. But if I talk about old geezers or growing up in the 80s or going to Balthazar at 10 o'clock and now my teeth are real. I'm not really keeping them in a glass by my bed, but it just adds some color and flavor to the post. We have thousands of followers and we're grateful for them. We worked hard to capture every single one of those followers. I can speak a little bit about that. About 2 or 3 years ago, Jenna Bush did a profile on our bookstore. Oh. And that really helped put us on the map. She was living out here for the summer and we had struck up a friendship and she had done a few book events here. And she was nice enough to, when she was just getting started with Read with Jenna, she did a 3 or 4 minute piece on our bookstore. No, it wasn't on the Today Show, sadly, but it was on her Instagram. And that really helped us. Overnight, we gained 2,000 or 3,000 followers. And those people are still with us and they've told a friend and they've told a friend. Instagram, a lot of
word of mouth. Yeah.
In my opinion, is the world's greatest sales invention. If you put it on Instagram You may not like that book, and I may not like that book, but somebody out there likes that book. Everything that goes on Instagram sells, and it may only get 40 likes. Sometimes we get 300 likes. Sometimes we get 20 likes, and then I kind of get sad. But people are DMing me on the side saying, I'm in Michigan, for example. I follow you. I want your bookstore to succeed because I get so many great ideas from you. Send me that book. So we send them the book, and they pay shipping too.
Wow. Okay. Well, another post that you wrote that I loved was the one for the Feather Detective. I mean, I've liked all of yours, but I just had to pick some because you're prolific. So it says, we selected this book to showcase at our bookstore without knowing anything about it. There was one reason that piqued our interest, and that reason is supposedly a major no-no. We loved the cover. We were so curious. You're not supposed to judge a book by its cover, and the fancy book people always roll their eyes when I tell them that I do, but we all do. Let's just admit it. Good covers sell books. So from that, I won't read the rest of your, but it is a great cover on The Feather Detective. And because I liked the cover so much, once I saw it, I interviewed that author. Tell us what makes a good cover and what makes a bad cover.
So that's a really good question. I would like to be an art director in a publishing house because I would fire most of them. I don't know who they're hiring. Some of the covers that we get are horrible, and I am not going to point any out, but I will point out a book that we loved so much, but it has the worst cover. So I guess I'm completely contradicting myself, but we are successfully able to sell this book because we all loved it so much. What makes a good cover? It's got to say something to you. It cannot just be amorphous colors or shapes. It has to have a compelling visual. The Feather Detector, for example, has a bunch of feathers, I guess, coming out of a drawer at the Smithsonian, right? Who doesn't want to know about? That's really interesting. Photographs are great covers. Photographs are the best covers.
Keith McNally, he's got a photograph.
Keith McNally, Graydon Carter.
Yeah.
I'm looking around here.
A Flower Traveled in My Blood. Did you like that?
Will Schwalbe. That's the book about the Argentine mom. That's a great cover.
Yeah.
Should I point out the book that I'm talking about that
Yes.
has a great cover?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm going to show you two. One that has a horrible cover and we were able to hand sell, and one that has a great cover.
Okay.
This is The Extraordinary Life of Sam Hell by Robert Dugoni. This is not a new book. I believe this is 11 years old. It's just not a great cover. It looks like it's a young reader book. And the reason we found this book is it fell behind the shelf. And having grown up in California, and I read the back that this took place in Burlingame, California, which is in the Bay Area, south of San Francisco. I read this book. This is the only book in the bookstore, cost $14.95, that we sell with a money-back guarantee because we all loved it so much. That doesn't have a great cover at all.
Wow. Who is Sam Hell?
Well, if I tell you what it's about, you're going to say, why do I want to read this book? Sam Hell was a young boy with red eyes. This is a family drama. Robert Dugoni is known more for his police procedurals, but this is a family drama. This is one of our biggest sellers ever. And we always have this in stock.
Okay.
Now, a great cover. This is Necessary Trouble by Drew Gilpin Faust. Now, some of you who are way smarter than me are going to know Drew because she was the first female president of Harvard. This book is not about Harvard. This book is about her growing up in the South, in the segregated South, her time in boarding school. She went to a very progressive boarding school called Concord Academy. Sorry, that's my dog. And it's about her time really through college. Nothing about going to Harvard or anything like that. But look at her. I mean, who doesn't want to know about her?
Yeah.
That's a great cover.
Yeah. It's a good cover. I will agree.
Red is
Yeah.
a good color.
So the red top and then the photograph on
Yeah.
the bottom. Yeah. I agree. So this Christmas season, which are your favorite books that you can recommend in different genres and why?
Okay.
I'm going to write
I
these
would be
down.
happy to do so. I'll do a little
Thank you.
quick show and tell. Do not miss A Marriage at Sea by Sophie Elmhurst. This is so good that we call this a ruin your vacation book. What do we mean by that? That means that you would rather sit in the Holiday Inn at the airport in God knows where and read this book rather than
Wow.
going out and seeing all the fancy sights. You think you're hungry and cold and tired and sick of your spouse? Read A Marriage at Sea.
Good to know, because I was worried. I read it and I didn't read the book. I read the synopsis, not yours, just in the book. And I was like, ooh, this sounds like it's going to be too difficult and wet. And like,
No, it's so good. And you know from the book jacket, there's a happy ending. So
okay,
it's
fine.
really, really good. All right.
Great.
The number one selling book at the Locust Valley Bookstore this year, drum roll please, is Broken Country by Claire Leslie Hall. And yes, this was a Reese's book club. We don't profess to love any of the book clubs more than any other, but she got a whopper success with this one. I mentioned family drama and dysfunction. Novel, really good. Takes place in England. Okay, should I keep going?
Yeah, I was questioning, how would you compare it to Wild Dark Shore?
So Wild Dark Shores is really good. And I'd say it's a little darker.
Okay.
And it's kind of end of the world-ish, a little dystopian. I felt in Wild Dark Shores, as much as I loved it, and a quick aside, my 26-year-old daughter, it was her favorite book of the year, Wild Dark Shores.
Okay.
This was a little gloomy all the time. There's glimmers of sunshine in this one.
Okay. Thank you.
Right, I loved Wild Dark Shores.
Okay.
Wild Dark Shore, excuse me,
Sure.
singular. Okay, another great cover and another big giant whopper seller is Culpability. Again, it's another book club, Oprah. So now I've hit Oprah, Jenna, Reese. I'm not playing favorites. Great novel, happy little family driving the minivan until things aren't quite as they should be. The mom is the breadwinner of the family. And this is, if you're interested in AI and how it can affect your decisions and what you do, but it's not like a computer novel. This is really good.
Would you call it like a thriller, or how would you describe, or just fiction?
I would call it a little bit of a thriller and a little bit of a, what's going to happen to this family?
Whoa. Okay.
I have a couple of others.
Thank you. This is good.
Some of these aren't necessarily brand new. When You're Ready is one of my favorite books. It's written by Kareem Rosser. Kareem is, this is a true story. He is from a very impoverished family in the bad part of Philadelphia. And he falls madly in love with Mila, who is a waspy debutante from the main line. And they meet through horses. Kareem gets out of really a difficult childhood because he is a polo player, and he meets Mila, and they're madly in love, completely divergent backgrounds. And there's a terrible tragedy that you learn about in the first chapter. But this is a great book.
Wow.
Really good and not long. And it's good for, I'd say, age 18 to 100.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Okay.
Do you have a length of book too? I mean, just because you said, it's not long. Do you have a length of book that you think is like the right length, or it really depends?
I think, well, let me say this. Some people say the book is really good, but you have to get to page 100 to love it. No, you're going to write a 350-page book. I want to fall in love in the first 10 pages. I
Good.
don't want to get to page 100 before something starts to happen. I am not afraid to put a book down. If I don't like the book, I got enough to do. I've got enough
Yeah.
good things. I mean, my bedside table is piled high. So it's just got to be good.
Great.
I think that there are books that are a bit of a challenge. For example, the Mark Twain book this year by Chernow, that's a doorstop. It's 1,000 pages, and you've got to really want to read 1,000 pages of Mark Twain. That's probably not a book for me,
Right.
but I loved The Power Broker by Caro. That's 1,000 pages. I couldn't put it down. A Little Life, that's 1,000 pages. I couldn't put that down.
Okay.
It really depends on the book.
Okay, good. So any more? What about historical fiction?
So I didn't bring any historical fiction to show off today, but I do have a couple other quick titles that may not be on everybody's list.
Thank you.
One, again, we're going back to the UK. Raising Hare has been a surprise hit. I get so sad with animal books. I don't follow animal stories on Instagram or anything. I just get sad. This is the story of a woman in England who finds a hare and helps rehabilitate it. And apparently hares are almost impossible to keep in human captivity, for lack of a better word. This was so good.
Yeah, yeah.
Another one of our surprise hits, which doesn't have a great cover, but it's probably our best-selling book for the last 2 months, is Theo of Golden by Alan Levy. You can't get it in hardcover. Maybe Amazon has them again now, but last week it was sold out in hardcover everywhere. But this is a novel doing really well.
I read that on your blurb. So he goes into a town.
He goes into a town, into a cafe, and there are drawing all over the wall of 97 or 98 different people. And he sets out to connect the drawing with the actual person. So it's a series of life stories that come
Wow.
together.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Any more on your pile?
1929. This is Andrew Sorkin, who's one of the top dogs at the Wall Street Journal. Again, this looks like a big book, but there are about 100 pages of footnotes, and the print is really big. And if you want to learn about business and economics, but don't want to fall asleep, read this.
Okay. Gosh, that's great. Thank you. Done. How about one? Do you have a children's book? You might not, because you put.
I do, as a matter of fact. Funny you should ask.
I'm a
I
grandmother.
have 2 children's books that we love more than anything.
Okay.
The first is The Man Who Didn't Like Animals by Deborah Underwood. This is the story of a man who didn't like animals, and he ultimately becomes Old MacDonald from Old MacDonald Had a Farm.
Oh.
This is really cute, ages 3 to 100. I mean, I'm closer to 100 than 3, and I love this book. Always puts a smile on my face.
Okay.
And
Is that like a prequel to Old MacDonald?
it's a prequel. And then Truffle by David McPhail. If I had to pick one children's book to take to a deserted island, I would take this. This is the story of a very dapper dog who doesn't like cats, but meets a cat, and it's just the most beguiling story.
What ages?
I'd say 3 to 100.
Okay.
A great book to read together.
Okay. I love the cover, by the way.
Great cover. Great cover.
Great cover. Yeah. Yeah. You need that children's book, especially.
Definitely. Lots of color and not a lot of words.
I guess my last question, but I think you might have answered it, is what was your favorite book that you read this year?
Oh my gosh. Okay.
It's a hard one.
That's a hard one. I don't even know if I can really answer that.
Because you love so
I can't pick a favorite book. It's like a favorite child. People ask me if I am going to a deserted island, what books am I going to read? And I can answer that question for you.
Okay.
I would take The Power Broker by Robert Caro. I would take The Winds of War by Herman Wouk. And I would probably take let's see, what could I read again that I absolutely love? Probably A Marriage at Sea, just because it shows so much resilience. But the
Wow.
first few are really two of my most favorite books of my life.
Is The Power Broker the one about Johnson?
The Power Broker is about Robert Moses, but
Oh, right.
famous also for his trilogy about Lyndon Johnson, and he's
Yeah,
actually writing
yeah.
the fourth one.
Oh, wow. Ah, okay. Yeah, I definitely read one and just was so impressed with Johnson.
They're amazing,
Yeah.
and that's a very good point. I mean, when I'm really a geezer and having wheelchair races around the retirement community, I will tackle those LBJ books because I love to. Who writes 4 giant books about LBJ? I
I
mean,
know.
incredible.
It's incredible. You should go to the LBJ, if you haven't already, Presidential Library in Austin,
should.
Texas. It's
I
really
should.
good.
My son lives in Houston. I should definitely go.
There you go. So, Lisa, thank you very, very much. I really hope that listeners will visit your shop, or if Locust Valley, Long Island is a little too far, that they will look on your Instagram page and buy off the website, which I will be doing. This was a very good conversation about community and support. And I mean, I just love good bookshops. They're the best.
I would just say, don't believe everything you hear about the demise of bookstores. Virtually every single person that walks in our bookstore buys something. And everybody that comes in says, I'm so happy that you're here.
Yeah.
And then they pay more and
Yeah.
they come back. 80% of our customers are repeats. So even though the newspapers are full of doom and gloom, the end of the world, bookstores, don't believe that. They're opening up every day. We all support each other. And wherever you live, shop locally, help your towns out.
I hope you all enjoyed that episode as much as I did. What Lisa lacks in computer savvy, she more than makes up for with her passion for books and her innate ability to write clever Instagram posts. They always give me a real feel for the story, as well as for Lisa herself. I hope you all got some ideas for books to read and books to give. And as Lisa said, support your local bookstore. I will be supporting the Locust Valley Bookstore because although it's not that local to me, I so appreciate the work that Lisa puts into her posts, finding my next great read for me. That's it for today. We'll be back in early January. Have a wonderful holiday season, ideally with a good book, and we'll see you next time.